The saturated ground began to collapse. Caught by surprise, the Centrosaurus tried to flee, but their mass escape only fueled the destruction. Those at the front of the herd were the first to fall, many trampled by their panicked companions. Others were swept away by the force of the flood, dragged into lower areas where they were buried alive by the mud. Some of the younger or weaker members of the herd simply couldn't keep up. Death came swiftly for some, while others suffered a slow and agonizing end. What remained was a tangled mass of bodies compressed under tons of flesh, bone, and earth. Then silence. Decomposition gave way to fossilization. Horror transformed into geological record. Millions of years later, paleontologists would carefully excavate the soil, using brushes and spatulas with a patience that mirrored the immense passage of time. They would reveal to the world an unprecedented discovery: more than 10,000 bones from a single species in a single location. The scientists' interpretation was immediate and stark. This wasn't the result of deaths occurring over generations. It was a single, sudden catastrophe that wiped out the entire herd. The uniformity of the fossils, the lack of erosion on the bones, and the absence of signs of predation all confirmed this. Everything there screamed urgency, desperation, tragedy. Now let's turn to another striking discovery. Imagine an animal over 9 meters long, weighing between 6 and 12 tons, slowly walking across the plains of a lost world. This is Triceratops horridus. With 3 sharp horns on its face and a protective bony frill, this giant herbivore was one of the last dinosaurs to roam the Earth before the mass extinction event, roughly 66 million years ago. Among the many Triceratops fossils discovered, one tells a particularly dark story, marked by pain, survival, and violence. What caught the paleontologist's attention wasn't just the well-preserved skull, but perforations located in vulnerable areas of the facial bone. These perforations, when analyzed, revealed a specific pattern, a curvature, a spacing, and a depth compatible with only one creature of that time, Tyrannosaurus rex. The powerful jaws of this predator could exert a force of more than 5 tons, enough to crush bone and tear away entire chunks of flesh. But what makes this case so intriguing is that the Triceratops didn't die at the moment of the attack. Quite the opposite. The bone surrounding the perforations shows clear signs of irregular growth, a biological reaction to the body's attempt to heal. An inflamed bone callus, typical of infection. The Triceratops survived. This discovery changes the traditional narrative of the late Cretaceous food chain. Instead of a simple predation scene, we're faced with a more complex drama. The attack, survival, infection, continuous pain, and finally a slow death. The skull becomes a witness, not only to a brutal fight, but also to the resilience of a wounded animal struggling to carry on. The infection that settled into the perforations of the skull was severe. The disorganized bone growth indicates that the body reacted however it could. This inflammatory response is a clear sign that it lived for several weeks, perhaps even months, after the attack. Every movement of the jaw, every bite of leaves or branches would have caused agonizing pain. Finally, let's consider the fighting dinosaurs. In the heart of the Gobi Desert, one of the most inhospitable and arid regions on the planet, lies one of the most dramatic testimonies of the age of dinosaurs. A moment frozen more than 70 million years ago, where life and death became intertwined in a fierce dance. This is the fossil known as the fighting dinosaurs, Protoceratops versus Velociraptor. Two names, two destinies sealed in a confrontation as brutal as it was intimate. On one side, Protoceratops, a medium-sized herbivore with a large bony frill and a beak as sharp as scissors. I've always been struck by the ferocity preserved in fossilized remains. Consider the Velociraptor, a creature of lethal grace, its curved claws inspiring legends. But a particular fossil reveals more than just anatomy. It captures a precise instant of combat. A Velociraptor, leg raised, sinks its killing claw into the neck of a Protoceratops. The herbivore, in response, bites down on the attacker's arm. Both immobilized, locked in a final struggle. There was no victor, only mutual death. The sand, rich in minerals, became an extraordinary preserver, capturing not just bones, but their positions, their raw ferocity frozen in time. Then there's the story from what is now Montana, about 66 million years ago. One of the most brutal confrontations of the Cretaceous period reached its end. The supreme predator, Tyrannosaurus rex, met its end in a shocking way. This fossil, nicknamed Pex rex, tells a unique story. Analysis revealed a massive puncture wound in the neck, precisely where vital arteries and muscles were located. It was as if a spear had been driven with devastating force. But this spear wasn't metal. It was bone, a Triceratops's horn. I can almost picture the scene. A close quarters confrontation, a decisive strike, a hunt gone wrong. The hunter became the prey. Bone fragments around the puncture suggest the impact was deep, piercing soft tissues and the trachea. There were no signs of healing, meaning the blow was fatal. This fossil, discovered in 1997, has fascinated scientists and the public alike because of its silent message written in every fracture. Then there are the dinosaur cemeteries. In many parts of the world, paleontologists have unearthed sites with skeletons tangled together, as if the animals died trying to escape. Sandstorms, floods, mudslides. Sudden, merciless forces that transformed the landscape. Some were swallowed alive by their own environment. These sites reveal moments of prehistoric life frozen in time, not in isolation, but in community. Entire families, from juveniles to adults, preserved side by side, their deaths bearing witness to collective panic. These weren't natural deaths spread out over time. They were sudden events, catastrophic moments when nature turned against its own. In China, groups of Centrosaurus have been found piled together in volcanic sediment, buried alive by ash. In Mongolia, sandstorms engulfed dinosaurs mid-motion. In Madagascar, a mudslide captured a group of Majungasaurus. Even in North America, remains of Diplodocus and other sauropods suggest entire herds were wiped out by floods. These sites show us how dinosaurs lived, how they organized themselves, and how even in groups they were vulnerable to the power of nature. Consider the Pachyrhinosaurus, crushed in a stampede. In the petrified silence of time, a tragedy unfolded beneath the skies of ancient North America. These bones, belonging to a gregarious herbivore whose head was adorned with thick bony bosses, tell a story. In Alberta, paleontologists encountered a macabre scene. Dozens of Pachyrhinosaurus fossils stacked atop one another, bones crushed and fractured. Imagine a herd of Patrinosaurus, peaceful herbivores usually, but driven to complete panic. The fossils tell a terrifying story, not of a sudden fall or a predator attack, but of something far more chaotic. A stampede. The compression marks on the skeletons. I can almost see it. These animals, terrified, colliding in a desperate attempt to flee. Scientists envision a herd in frenzy, perhaps startled by a wildfire or a sudden storm. Some fall, others stumble over them. The combined weight of dozens of tons becomes an instrument of death. What's particularly haunting is the range of ages represented in the fossils: juveniles, adults, even hatchlings. It suggests they lived and died as a family. Evidence suggests they cared for their young, perhaps protecting them in defensive circles, like modern elephants. But, as these fossils show, no defensive formation can withstand complete, utter panic. Not all of them died immediately either. Some fossils show healed fractures, suggesting certain individuals survived for a time, even with broken bones. Others, though, show signs of acute and lethal trauma. The microfractures reveal that the force didn't come from above, as in a landslide, but from all directions, as if the bodies were being compressed within a living mass of desperation. Paleontologists call it herd death, a natural catastrophe that, ironically, preserves fossils so well. Then there's the story of the Carnotaurus with a fractured jaw. Imagine this feared predator, this force of nature that roamed South America over 70 million years ago. Carnotaurus, meat-eating bull, one of the largest and most agile theropods of its time. But even kings have weaknesses. And sometimes a silent fossil tells a story of pain, struggle, and silent defeat. This particular Carnotaurus revealed a mystery hidden in its jaw, a significant, unhealed fracture. The break was clear, deep, and seemed to have compromised the entire side of its mouth, affecting its ability to hunt, to feed, to survive. It wasn't a superficial fracture, but a severe rupture in the lower jawbone, causing extreme pain and making even basic movements difficult. The absence of any signs of healing was the first warning sign. When an animal survives a fracture, the bone shows evidence of the healing process, the growth of new bone tissue, the formation of calluses. But in this fossil, there was none of that. The fracture was raw, as if it had occurred just days or hours before the animal's death. This lack of healing led scientists to a grim hypothesis. The Carnotaurus died shortly after suffering the injury. And if that's true, the cause of death may have been even more cruel: starvation. Unable to fully open its jaw or apply the force necessary to kill prey, the injured Carnotaurus may have been condemned to waste away. Imagine the suffering. Every attempt to bite sending waves of pain through its body. Each step slower, more hesitant. A predator transformed into a shadow, pushed out of territorial disputes, abandoned by prey, perhaps even by its own kind. Then we have Tyrannosaurus rex. Bones bitten by another Tyrannosaurus rex. In a landscape fossilized more than 66 million years ago, a giant once rested, Tyrannosaurus rex, the tyrant lizard king. But even kings face challenges. A fossil discovered in Montana revealed bite marks on its bones, made by another Tyrannosaurus rex. This discovery sheds light on Tyrannosaurus rex behavior in a way we could previously only imagine. The tooth marks don't belong to a smaller predator. They match the robust, widely spaced, and deeply penetrating dentition of another tyrannosaur. This forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about their social and feeding behavior. Are we looking at evidence of cannibalism, or a fierce territorial dispute, or simply a meal where opportunity outweighed social restraint? To understand the significance, we must first understand who Tyrannosaurus rex was, measuring 13 meters in length, nearly 4 meters tall at the hips, and possessing a jaw capable of exerting up to 6 tons of press. Tyrannosaurus rex was more than a predator. It was a bone crusher. Its banana-shaped teeth were capable of crushing not only flesh, but bone. Imagine a moment frozen in time, a brutal encounter recorded not in stone, but in bone. Teeth, specifically tyrannosaur teeth, left their indelible marks on fossil remains discovered in Montana. These aren't just superficial scratches. They're deep signatures etched into the skull, jaw, arms, and legs of the specimen. I've spent countless hours studying images of these bite marks, and the detail is astonishing. You can almost see the very instant one tyrannosaur pressed its teeth against the bone of another, tearing away flesh and splintering the carcass. It's more than just a fossil. It's a window into a world of behavior that no textbook could ever fully capture. But what does it mean? Was Tyrannosaurus rex actually eating its own kind? If so, what drove them to such extremes? One of the most accepted ideas is opportunistic cannibalism. In the harsh, unforgiving environments of the late Cretaceous, scarcity could have pushed even apex predators to consume the bodies of their dead. This isn't unheard of in the animal kingdom. Crocodiles, sharks, even bears sometimes resort to cannibalism when times are tough. Why would it have been any different 66 million years ago? Then there's the more dramatic possibility: a fight. Perhaps two Tyrannosaurus rex clashed over territory, mating rights, or a kill. The victor, in the aftermath, might have consumed parts of the defeated rival. We see this kind of behavior in modern predators too. Wolves, for example, sometimes kill members of rival packs and then feed on them. In this light, Tyrannosaurus rex becomes something more than just a killing machine. It becomes an animal with complex social behaviors, capable of extreme acts.